Okay, LaRae, so let me paint a picture. So you get a payment from a carrier and you're in network with this carrier.
Yeah.
You post the payment and it's higher than what you estimated.
Which sounds like a good day until it's not.
Right, because now there's a credit sitting on the patient's account. And you realize you also under collected on what you could have at the time of service.
And that usually means that you didn't ask the patient for enough because your estimate was wrong.
So here's what happened. You have a fee schedule in your practice management system, but those fees, those contracted fees, are old. So those old fees were posted to the account for the treatment that you provided. Yeah. However, the UCR fees were submitted on the claim to the insurance company. That's standard for most offices, right? More on my personal belief about that later if we get into it. And because the contracted fees that were posted in the account were old, they were too low.
Yeah.
From what the insurance company has, right? So this means the fees that were posted to the account were low. UCR gets submitted to the insurance company. Insurance company has no idea you're working with a fee schedule that's too low, right?
Yeah.
And the fees that were processed and paid by the insurance carrier were higher than what were posted to the patient's account.
Yeah, so insurance paid based on their allowed amount, which was actually higher than what your system thought it was, right? This means the estimated patient portion that you presented to the patient on the data service was based on fees that were too low. And therefore, the total estimate was too low as well.
Yes, correct. Meaning you could have collected more from the patient up front.
Yeah.
Ethically and accurately, right? But instead, now you have a credit.
Yeah. And now you're also refunding money, adjusting production, or applying credits forward. And your reporting is just going to be a mess.
And the wild part, like this literally happens every single day in offices that don't have their fee schedules updated in their practice management system.
For sure. Welcome to the Truth Decay Podcast, talking dollars and cents with Sara Baker and LaRae McMullen. Fee schedules are the contracted maximum amounts that insurance carriers will allow on a claim when you're in network.
And you know, something that I kind of want to mention right out the gate, and I might blow some minds here. Fees, contracted fees are maximum amounts. Hear me out. You can actually charge lower fees if you want to. Yeah. And there are instances where it might be advantageous to charge lower fees. Why would you want to charge lower fees? I'm so glad that you asked me. So let's say that you know a procedure won't be covered and will be patient portion. When speaking to the patient about what the costs will be, you have the ability to lower the costs if you think that will help the patient accept the treatment or avoid a fight down the line.
Yes. So kind of an example from one of our previous podcasts that we had talked about, the benefits for a FMX, a full mouth series, is allowed for payment typically once every like 3 to 5 years. So if a patient needs an FMX within that time period, you've checked the benefits and you see that they're not going to pay for it, right? Because it's past the frequency. It would be the patient portion. This can cause issues, right? So that the patient will be responsible for those x-rays and the full FMX fee. It might just be a little bit too expensive and maybe you know that, right? So it's totally up to you. You can charge that full fee for the FMX, the full UCR fee for FMX, or you can say, you know what, we can do this FMX for $100 or, you know, whatever it is that you find appropriate. That might be a way better way to approach it versus making it a total surprise. And then you get nothing from insurance and then the patient gets a surprise bill and they're super pissed about it. And so you might not get payment from the patient either. because they're mad enough. Like what I actually see kind of a lot is sometimes people do it on purpose, which I have a thought about that. But a patient might call and be pissed about it, and you write it off, right? You write it off and you say, you know what? That's our mistake.
Our bad.
They might even say our bad, our mistake, right? But I argue that what you're doing then is, instead of being the hero from the get-go and saying, let me give you a discount on that.
Yes.
They already know, and you look like a great hero giving a discount. Instead, you think, I'm going to write it off and be a hero. But in my opinion, you're training your patient. It's like little kids, right? You like toddlers. You got to set these boundaries. So you're training your patient to argue with you about what your fees cost.
That's right.
And then when you say, you know what? You're right. I did something wrong. Let me take that fee off for you. You're training them that if they just bitch about their bill, you're gonna write it off.
LaRae, you beautiful genius. You're 1,000% right, because like you are also devaluing the treatment that you did. Instead of, at the beginning, what should have happened was, you need this FMX. Doctor needs these x-rays in order to, be diagnostically sure of the treatment that, blah, blah, blah. You don't have benefits for this right now, but here's what we want to do for you. We can charge you $100 for these, right? So we're going to post $100. We're going to submit $100. And that's what that's going to deny.
Check your benefits. Yeah.
But your patient portion is going to be $100.
Yeah.
And then, just like you said, you can be the hero because you knew the whole time that we checked your benefits. We knew what was going to happen. There's no surprises. The value was clear about why these were so necessary. The patient bought in to why they were necessary, right? Yeah. And there's no write-off. The alternative sometimes is literally nobody gets paid for these. Yeah. So
and you've just taught your patients to bitch about their bill. And, and maybe they'll get something for it.
That's such a good example of why sometimes. So again, these fees, that's a maximum amount. You have flexibility depending on whatever. One point that I do want to make, though, is just as a side note, if you were doing something like this, if this was something that you were interested in kind of hearing more about, let us know. Happy to talk to you about it. But you cannot submit UCR for it, because if you post $100 and then you submit your UCR automatically, the insurance company isn't going to know that you posted $100.
Yeah.
So just to be extra sure about all of your documentation, you want to make sure that the number that is going out on the claims is the amount that you intend to collect.
Yeah.
Right.
We've talked about that before. So just to really, really simplify that. Yeah. It's just whatever you intend to collect, you have to put that same amount on your claim. Right. So the insurance
what you have to represent.
Yeah.
Yes. You have to represent that whatever you fully actually intend to collect is what is being billed to insurance, that you are not billing more to insurance than, because there's actually an implication that if you're in network, you have to abide by the fee schedule anyway. So if you're billing $1 million for a filling, you're not going to collect $1 million. You're going to collect the fee schedule amount, right? So that's kind of the exception to that. I don't think we should be billing UCR. This is a very unpopular opinion. I really do. I think if your fee schedules are where they should be in your system, like we're talking about, there should be no need to bill UCR. I don't think that should be the default. I think it makes things very complicated, especially even in terms of how we're talking about. It might be a good idea to bill something for less. And you can't do that if you're billing UCR. It makes it very complicated. So fight me, right? But, so fee schedules, here's a myth, confusion, willful misunderstanding, right? Fee schedules are not suggestions. If you are in network with a carrier, if you have signed a contract, this is a legal document. like rent or payroll. You agreed to these terms. We have seen some very creative explanations as to why you should not have to follow along with what ends up on that EOB in terms of like what the patient portion should be. And like, why are you writing that off? Why are you adjusting that down? Welp, you agreed to this, right? Yeah. And so there are pros and cons to being in network. And when you signed the contract, at some point you agreed to the pros and you also agreed to the cons. So
that fee schedule.
Yeah.
But, and this is really huge. Something we want to get across is that those fee schedules are negotiable. You don't just sign your life away forever. Most carriers do allow you to have some negotiations before you sign the initial contract. And then you can also renegotiate when you renew or maybe even on like a yearly cycle, depending on the insurance. So what we're saying here is, yes, you have to follow what you signed, but you can ask for renegotiations or you can negotiate those fee schedules.
At so many practices never ask. The insurance carriers are banking on you not asking.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not going to tell you can do it, but
hell no.
You can.
Yeah. And we're not guaranteeing it's going to work. Yeah. And we're not guaranteeing that every single carrier even has like a mechanism for doing it. Right. But like a lot do.
Yeah. And we've seen it. We've seen people negotiate and get higher prices from.
Yes. A lot of offices just accept the fees that they're offered, and then they never question whatever numbers get thrown at them year after year, right? Yeah. And that's how 30% off of your UCR, right, becomes normal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you need to know your UCR fee, which is what you think the service is worth. Is going to be, or really it should be, higher than those contracted allowed fees, which is, what insurance agrees to pay.
An important point about that, just briefly, I think, is that the reason your UCR should be higher is I think that kind of by virtue of being in network, there's an implied you're getting a discount for going to an in-network provider. Yeah, exactly. So like that's why, you've got your UCR, and then you've got people coming in who've been referred to you, and then they are getting a bit of a discount, a bit of a break, right? And that's why a lot of practice management softwares, their treatment plans are set up to show like UCR next to the in-network fees. So like patients can see that. I would actually encourage you, if your practice management software is not set up to do that you should, because it does help to show kind of the, why not? Again, if you're in network and you're taking this hit, like use it. Yeah. Show that they're getting this discount, right? And like ultimately that because that your practice management software, whichever one you're using, it doesn't magically like know stuff. It only knows what you tell it.
Yeah.
It knows the information that you input into it.
Really, that means everything, every estimate, if you're not updating your fee schedule, every estimate, every patient portion, every gross production, adjusted production total, every AR report, everything downstream from not updating those fee schedules is kind of built on garbage, right? Because your practice management software is meant to take that information that you've input, like Sara said, inputting those updated fee schedules and work from that. So if it doesn't have a true qualifier to work from, it's kind of garbage. It's not even worth using. What we're saying is like, if your software is posting an old, outdated fee schedule, your estimates are inaccurate, your collections are wrong, and you look like the bad guy. Like you didn't know what was going on.
Like that's part of what we need to stress. Like from a billing perspective, you must have the correct up-to-date contracted fee schedule entered in your practice management software from every carrier. It's actually one of the first things that we do when we get a new client is like one of the first questions we ask is, are your fee schedules updated?
Yeah.
Like, are we working with the right fees? And also how widespread is it that we have the right or wrong fee schedules attached to the right things, right? Like how often are we using them?
For sure. And it's not just important to know that they're entered. you need a system to keep them updated. Because there are, like I said before, not uncommon to be yearly, but there are updates, changes, all kinds of things. Sometimes codes can change. There might be old codes in there that you're still using and still posting, and they're not even relevant anymore. So it's just really, really important to kind of get a system in place where you are updating those fee schedules.
We love us a system.
We sure do.
So let's get for real. Like, having the right fee schedule in your practice management software is not optional. It's literally like foundational. You need this to start being successful with so many of the things that we talk about.
Right. So a really good tip that we can offer you is that most practice management softwares allow you to default a base fee schedule. So, a lot of people will do a UCR or whatever, but it then you can then override it based on the patient's insurance. So if you have a UCR as your base, when you're putting a new patient in, you would select the fee schedule they need based off of their insurance. So if you don't know if that is set up or how to set that up, you are asking for trouble.
Yes, it can get super confusing super quick, which is why we're like taking time out to mention this. When a patient's policy is selected, your practice management software should automatically use that carrier's contracted fees.
Yeah.
So like when you've got Delta, you should have the Delta, if you're in network, you should have the Delta fee schedule updated in your system. That Delta fee schedule should be selected with that, insurance card or whatever you call it in your practice management software. So when that patient gets Delta selected as their carrier, your system settings should then use the fee schedule associated with the, with the insurance that they now have, not the default base one, right? But sometimes it gets a little wonky, and I've seen, especially in Dentrix, where you can select a fee schedule for the account. So you could actually select, like, someone might think, oh, they have MetLife. I'm going to select the MetLife fee schedule for the account.
Yeah.
And then they no longer have MetLife, they have Delta, but it's defaulting to the MetLife fee schedule because that's the one that's selected to the account. So now it's not using the global, UCR fee schedule. It's not using the fee schedule that's associated with the insurance carrier they have. It's using the fee schedule that at some point was selected to the account. And so you may be posting fees that are wildly wrong, like wildly wrong. And it's just really important, like, don't do that. This is just like, since seriously, if you feel like you're having some kind of crazy time with like, why do my fees look like this? It's a common enough issue that we've had to untangle in offices where we would offer, check that, like, make sure that you're not doing that. You should really honestly only have, I think the purpose of it is if in case like somebody maybe is cash and they have a discount all the time, like off of the UCR, that would be an option to always default to having or I don't know, there's other reasons, but
I mean, there's other defaults too. So like I don't know why they would have them in the practice management software, but maybe they have them for everything. But I know that there's defaults to like not send a statement to certain accounts, or a default for I don't even know, like a specific code that comes up or whatever. There's a lot of defaults depending on the practice management softwares.
Our high recommendation, I would say, is to like really only have the global default and use whatever is associated with the insurance.
Yeah.
For the most part, for the offices that we work with, again, sincerely, if you have a reason that you would use like a different main one on an account, I would love to hear it, because I can't think of a reason why that would be super useful. But
well, and also besides just making sure that you understand your practice management software settings and all of those things, if you're contracted with 10 carriers and you only have 3 fee schedules input into your system will have to use something else. It'll have to figure out what to use, right? So it's probably going to grab the UCR. And so then all that stuff that we said before was wrong, and you're suddenly doing a bunch of adjustments later on the back end after those claims are processed.
And your AR is going to look crazy. It's going to be super inflated, right? And you don't really have all that money on there to collect.
Yeah.
Right? So your expected payments are wrong. Your team kind of wastes time chasing down money that was never really collectible in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's really important to create a situation where you are looking at real numbers in real time. Like, we're big advocates of that, or like as close to real numbers as possible. You're always going to have a difference between your gross and your adjusted production. You should. Like, that's fine. But you want real numbers so you can identify trends quickly, and see where there needs to be course corrections.
Yeah. So step 1, clean up your fee schedules. Make sure that you have current negotiated rates for every carrier that you're in network with, and load them into your PMS, practice management software.
So step 2, check the defaults. Right? So try to notice, are you making a bunch of adjustments on a particular account or like a carrier? Pull a few test patients. See if the right fee schedule is associated. Perhaps there's again, insurance card in your software that has the wrong fee schedule associated with it. Or maybe that's an indicator that your fee schedule is like way outdated and you need to update it. So check on those, see if there's anything that's jumping out at you that could help kind of lead you to something that you can fix, and then it's going to help save you time, right? Like, be proactive about it instead of reactive, which is making the adjustments, which is apologizing for things being incorrect, right?
Yeah. And then step 3, train your team, your whole team, not just the billers, because anyone at that front desk, anyone who makes appointments or enters insurance information, they need to know what fee schedule is being used and why it matters for the estimates.
Because your estimates help drive patient collections, like specifically your ability to confidently explain and communicate the patient portions, right?
Yeah.
And like where they come from, etc. If those are based on outdated or just straight up incorrect fees, the result is that patients are going to end up surprised. Final statements are going to be a shock, and it's going to cause chaos, or they're just going to go straight up ignored. Because you're going to hear stuff like, but you said insurance would cover this, or like, this is so off of what you told me this was going to be, right?
I mean, transparency starts with a system for how you get to your fees and estimates. So if your fees, estimates, treatment plans are based on a correct current fee schedule, then your patient portions will be reasonable, predictable, and if need be, defensible.
This also, I mentioned a minute ago about like it being identifying real issues. So when adjustments are legitimate, they pop out. You know, we actually had a situation recently with a client where their practice management software was, it was posting UCR for everything. And then we were adjusting off fees. And their adjustments in December were over 100,000, like 100,000. And the office, it's not a like huge office, right? So it took their gross production, which was $213,000, to their adjusted production to $106,000. So how could you possibly see a red flag in adjustments, right? Like if somebody, let's say one of the worst case scenarios, someone was making some kind of wacky adjustments, you would not be able to see an increase in adjustments or something jumping out at you in over $100,000 in adjustments. Yeah. So that's why it's so important to have real numbers to work with.
Well, and let's not even touch on the fact that that is a ginormous time waster for whoever is entering those EOBs and those
Amen.
payments.
Yeah.
But in a way, fee schedules, they kind of become a diagnostic tool. So not just a list of numbers, but a way to see if there's something off or wrong with your revenue cycle in terms of, like Sara was just saying, adjustments standing out, or in terms of your UCR fees being so super off of the contracted fees. Do you need to rework your UCR fees? What is it telling you? Those are good questions to ask yourself. And
if a schedule is so low that it's unworkable, well, then maybe it's time to like use a negotiation strategy.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the part that people skip. Negotiating your fee schedule. Yes, even if you're in network, you can ask for higher fees.
So like we highly recommend know your numbers. Like for each carrier that you are in network with, if you are routinely writing off more than 20% of your UCR on any major payer, that's something you need to check out. Like, is it worth it to you to stay in network?
Yeah. Bring actual data, your UCR versus the PPO allowed amounts, your average write-offs, and the financial impact that that's having on your practice. Numbers speak louder than opinions. And what percentage of your practice is that carrier? Do you have an opportunity to negotiate? So let's say you have one or two carriers that are over 50% of your practice. You need to find out what those numbers are and show them the impact that that is having on your practice.
Our second recommendation is to research each carrier's policy on fee negotiations. Some are more flexible than others. So like be prepared for fine print, clauses, probably some surprises. Just call provider relations and ask. Make a note so you don't have to do it again. And like maybe flag in your calendar when to call and you need, to figure out how to do that. So you might call and they might say, oh, it's on your anniversary every year.
Yeah.
Or they might say it's at the top of every year. Great. Make a note so that you can, do that.
Yeah. Third recommendation, if you're able to make an increase, then request, then do it. Like definitely do it. Doesn't hurt to ask, right? Sometimes it's something you need to fill out. Other times you're actually needing to speak with a customer relations rep.
Remember though, like you can't use contract A to leverage with contract B because you actually do have NDAs in a lot of situations. So treat each negotiation independently. Like you are not allowed to share fees. They are like, private.
Don't go to Delta and say, well, Aetna's letting me charge this much.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. Like you don't want to do that. They have their ways of getting fees. That does not involve you. Like don't be the one. Right. So keep your fees private. And it doesn't always work. Like it doesn't. But not trying guarantees you never get better numbers, really. And you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So like if you are in network, you are literally losing only the time that it takes you to check and like the time you're paying whatever staff member to see if you have a chance.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. So LaRae, what are 2 action steps that our listeners can do right now?
Check your adjustments. Are you making a ton of adjustments? You might need to update that fee schedule if so.
Oh my God, yes. Please pay attention to your adjustments, please. And also check to see when was the last time you updated your fee schedules? When? Sometimes it has been literal years. Like, please go check, contact the carrier, each carrier that you are in network with and get your most current fee schedule and spend X amount of time checking, just giving it a check. And it is so worth your time to do this. Like, please, your billers, whoever is posting your payments and making adjustments will want to kiss you full on the mouth. HR will not, want that, but like it will make their life better.
All right. So what are our final thoughts for today?
Fee schedules are not optional details. They are genuinely central to accurate billing, realistic estimates, and predictable revenue.
Knowing them, managing them, and even negotiating them is what separates thriving practices from struggling ones.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. If you liked what you heard today, please consider subscribing on whatever platform you are listening to us on. You can send us an email at hello@thetruthdecaydpodcast.com or check us out at sddentalsolutions.com. We would love to answer your questions, address any issues you might have. If you disagree with me about submitting UCR, let's go. Let's go. I would love to have a spirited debate about the benefits of submitting UCR. There are some, but I think that the cons far outweigh the pros. And I'll stand 10 toes down on it, and let's go.
If you're on social media, you can find Sara, myself, and SD Dental Solutions on LinkedIn, Instagram, and also Facebook. So you can also reach out to us there. But yeah, just come and find us.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next episode.
See you next time.
Bye.